Let's go ahead and start with the assembly that we left off with. So this is the complete valve assembly. Just going to choose copy. And make a copy of this one. Make sure that your ortho is turned on. Select the base point. And then I'll pull it a distance away. 400 looks fine. Then let's start pulling each one of these components away. So let's go to Move. Select your valve body. And I will move it down a distance of 330. Next, I'll move the washer down a distance of 170. Try to make sure that I do leave enough clearance in between each one of these. Next, I'll move the valve. Now I'll go down a distance of 120. Let's move the spring and the body nut up 30. And then I'll move just the body nut by itself 60. I'll create a line, and I'm just using a regular line command from this center, going straight through until I can see it at the bottom of the valve body. I'm going to stretch this top line up, so I'll select it, select the blue grip, and go up in the Z direction. So make sure you're seeing a positive Z next to your cursor. Okay, let's jump over to the Layout tab. Let's go ahead and insert in our title block, and I'm just going to use I, Enter. Make sure that I uncheck the insertion point. Right click on the title block and choose Insert. Select OK. Next, I want to go ahead and zoom this to fit my title block. So I'll go to the Layout tab, choose Page Setup, Modify, DWG to PDF. I'll choose ANSI Full Bleed B 17 by 11. I'll choose Extents as my area to plot. Make sure you put a check in the center of the plot box. And underneath the drop down here, I'm going to choose monochrome since I only want to display this in a black and white view once it's printed. Go to OK and close. Now I'm just going to adjust this viewport. I'm just going to move it just up and below my title block. And this bottom line, I will do the same. Let's double click on the inside of this viewport to activate it. I'm going to adjust the scale to 3/16 equals a foot. And then just use the pan just so you can get your exploded assembly all in one view. Once I've made sure that my scale is the right one and is still locked onto that, I will lock it. Double click outside of the viewport to deactivate it, and then just select the viewport and then move the grips over just so I only see my exploded assembly. Go ahead and close your insertion library. Select your viewport, one right click, and choose Properties. Make sure that viewport is still selected. Select the drop down and choose VP. Escape button twice will clear it. Now I have the option of controlling how I want this to be displayed when I print it. If I have that viewport selected, in the bottom of my properties window, you can see where it says shade plot is as displayed. So however it's displayed is how it'll print. So I can manually change it and it'll always print it as displayed, or you can select it here in the drop down and choose how you want it displayed. I'm going to leave it on as displayed. I'll double click on the inside of that viewport, and along the top I'll select where it says shades of gray. Then I'll choose hidden. Double click to the outside of that viewport. And next, let's go ahead and bring in a base view. So I'll choose base from model space. You should be seeing both of your views. I'll tell it that I want visible lines. I'll choose the scale since I already know it. It's going to be 3/16 equals 1 foot. And then I'll choose northwest isometric. Make sure that you select the drop down box here to get you to go to northwest isometric. I'll choose model space selection. Hold down the shift button and put a window around this one while the shift button is held down. You can release the shift button once it's deselected and choose return to layout. Now I will click a place on my screen to place that view and hit the enter button twice. So now you can kind of compare the two. You can see that the one in the viewport has a little bit more detail, but you can also see that trace line that's going through it. If I use the one from the base view, I don't have that option of having that line go through it. It's only going to give me my 3D model pieces. Let's go ahead and create our assembly view up here at the top right. So I'll choose base again from model space. I do know the scale since it's listed on the drawing, but I can change these at any time. So let's choose the 3/8 equals a foot. I'll select in this drop down northwest isometric. And then I'll also go to model space selection. Hold down the shift button and put a window around this one while the shift button is held down. Release the shift button and come back to return to layout. I'll place this one in this area here. Enter button twice to accept it. Now I did forget to go ahead and adjust this, but remember all we have to do is double click on this view, choose the hidden lines, and then make it visible lines. You select OK. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to insert in my table. So I'll go to the Annotate tab. And then underneath my table, I'm going to set up the style, because you can see in the drawing that the parts list is going from the bottom up. So let's select the table style by selecting this little down icon here. It's at standard. I'm just going to modify it. Table direction, let's choose up. Underneath the data tab, and this is data that's selected, I want to align it to the middle center. Underneath my text, I'm going to adjust the text height to appear as 0.125. Select the drop down, choose header. Also make that one 0.125. And then choose title. And let's make that 0.1875. Make sure you hit enter after you input each one of those values. Select OK. And then close. Now I'm ready to bring in a table. So select table. It's going to start from the standard one, which is the one we just used, and it's an empty table. We have 3 columns, and we have 5 data rows. Our front row, or our first row, is the title. Second row is header. Third row is going to be data. Select OK. And then place your table. All right, go ahead and fill out your table. Okay, go ahead and fill in your table like so. And like I always do when I'm creating these tables, just type the words and hit the tab button to go to the next one, and just keep typing them in, and then we will go ahead and adjust these as we need to. I can see that I made a mistake here, so I'll double click in that icon in this box. And adjust the text to 5. Okay, so when you go in to modify these, I want all of these to be in the middle center. So it doesn't really matter which one of these cells you select in. So if I select in one of them, and then I'm just going to left click and hold and drag down till I get all of the cells highlighted. And underneath my alignment, I'll choose the middle center. I'll do the same over here underneath my quantity tab. So I'll select one of them, left click and hold in that box and drag up to the top. And then I will choose middle center. Next, I'm going to go ahead and adjust these, but first I'm going to move my table into position. So just select outside of your table, use a move. So I'm just going to type in move, select my table, and then this is going to be my base point. It's located here at this end point, and I'll select at this end point. Okay, now I'll start closing some of these columns in. So I'll select this cell. I'll select this grip. And what I usually like to do is turn my my O-snaps off. So you can select this icon here, and that'll turn them off. Now I can kind of move these closer together without any of my O-snaps snapping in and moving them or reorienting them. So I'll select this box or this cell, then I'll adjust it over like so. I can widen out my description box by selecting this cell, select that grip, and go back out this direction. Okay, once I'm finished modifying my table, I'll turn my O-snaps back on. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put balloons around these. So first I'm going to go and adjust my multi-leader style. So I'll select the drop down arrow there. I'm going to create a new one. I'll name this one Balloon. Continue. And in this one, I'm going to start with the Content tab. I'll choose Block. Underneath this drop down, I'll choose Circle. And I'm going to make this circle just a little bit bigger than usual. So I'm going to make it 1.5. Underneath my leader structure, I will adjust the landing just to make it come in a little bit closer. So I'll make that 0.1875. And nothing I'll have to change underneath my leader format. This all should be okay. And close it. Now I'm ready to create a multi-leader. So I'll select multi-leader. Select somewhere along this one. And this time I'll turn my ortho off since I don't want my leaders going straight up and down. So you can either hit the F8 button or you can select this icon. I'll click and place it. And this one will be number 1. Go back and I'll do my washer next. So I'll select anywhere on my washer. Click. This is number 2. Select my valve. This is number 3. Back to my multi-leader, select somewhere on my spring. This is number 4. And then finally, I'll do the body nut at the top. One thing I forgot to mention, that there are a few typos on the drawing. And you can see I did correct those here in the table. That where it says number 2, that should be a washer instead of valve. Okay, so if some people are perfectionists or like to keep things in line, there is, when you're working with multi-leaders, an align option. So I can choose this align. I'll select these 3. Enter after of it. Then you're going to select a point that you want to align. So I'm going to go to Option, let's do that again. So let's go to multi-leader, and I want to align these 3. Then I'll choose Options. And I'm just going to let it use the current spacing. And then I'll tell it to distribute. Once I tell it to distribute, then I can select an endpoint, and you're going to see all of these will be in line with each other. And as I get closer to the top, I'll click a point, and all of those will be in line with each other. Okay, I guess I'll move this one manually. I can touch this one and I can track off of it. And that's a easier way if you only got one of them. Okay, so now that I have all of my leaders the way I want them, I have my table put in. I'll go ahead and put the text in at the bottom. And I'm going to do my text underneath this one. The reason I'm having you do both of them is that when we come to doing the assignment portion, you're going to make a PDF of these. Then you can kind of compare which one is better. But you can see that this one will give you that line that's going between it, and this one will not. Okay, so to create the text, I'm just going to use multi-line text. Click a start point. Then I'll choose Justify, Middle Center. I'll come over this direction and I'll place my dimension, or sorry, my text. Now on the top of my text height, I'm going to change that height to 0.1875. You can type that in if that number wasn't available for you. And then start typing in exploded assembly view. Go ahead and hit the enter button to go down to the next line. Then we're going to type in scale. Put a space behind it, 3/16. And once I put the inch mark, you're going to see that AutoCAD wants to try to correct that for me. So go ahead and click the little lightning bolt. And then tell it to unstack. Space equals 1 foot dash 0 inches. Okay. I'm going to highlight the top half of this, so my exploded assembly view, and I will underline that. I will highlight this lower half, and then I will choose 0.125. Or you can type it in if it's not listed in the dropdown. Go ahead and close the text editor. Next, let's go ahead and copy that text over to here. So remember the shortcut for copy is CO. Select your text, select the base point, and then move it underneath your assembly view. Type in ED, that stands for edit text. Select your text. Then I will take off the exploded portion. And I will also adjust the scale underneath this one to an 8. So it's 3/8 equals a foot. Close it. Then you can hit escape. Okay, you can fill in all the rest of this at the bottom. So our scale on this one will be as noted. In the project, you can name this one as valve. And then you can save this one as your drawing. So save it as valve drawing. And when you save this one, make sure that you use the save as function. So just don't use a regular save. You can type it in. Save as. So you want to use the one with the little pencil. It's also the icon that's up there at the very top next to the save icon, but use the save as and save this one as valve drawing.